the Strength Laboratory, we have different days where we focus on different things. This is our combined maximal effort and dynamic effort day. This is where we build strength and power. Think of your training week as a complete system. Every day has a job. Maximum effort builds the strength ceiling, the raw force your body can produce. Dynamic effort builds the power to express that force at speed. And repetitive effort builds the muscle tissue that makes both of these things possible. These are not separate goals. They are one system, and each method feeds the others. For the next 6 weeks, we are running a specific method variation on this day called the Activation-Stimulation-Potentiation method. This strategy is built around a principle called contrast training, also known as complexing. And the big idea is that when you pair a stability challenge, a heavy compound movement, and an explosive exercise in the correct sequence, something remarkable happens in your central nervous system. Each phase amplifies the next one. The stabilizers fire. The heavy work activates more high threshold fast twitch motor units. And the explosive exercise captures a level of power output your body could not have produced any other way. This is not a training theory. This is the physiology of contrast training, and for the next 6 weeks, it's the foundation of every session on this day. I cannot wait to show you how it works. Most training programs load the resistance and start lifting. The deep stabilizers are not yet firing. The nervous system is not primed. Proprioception, your body's positional awareness, is cold. Asking a muscle to produce maximal force before those systems are online means leaving force output, joint protection, and explosive capacity on the table. And the research on post-activation potentiation gives us a better way. A heavy compound movement temporarily elevates the central nervous system's capacity to produce explosive force, but only if the stabilizers were activated first, and the explosive work follows immediately. This is the Activation-Stimulation-Potentiation method. The activation exercise fires the deep stabilizers first. With the stabilizers online, the stimulation exercise loads the pattern with a challenging load that awakens the fast twitch muscle fibers at their full capacity. With the fast twitch fibers fully recruited and the central nervous system at its peak, the potentiation exercise maximizes explosive force output at the exact moment the body is most capable of producing it. Each phase creates the biological condition the next phase needs to perform at its best. The result is greater force output, greater power development, stronger joints, faster reaction time, and a nervous system being trained to perform at its ceiling every single session. The science is clear. The sequence produces more than any phase could produce on its own. The next 3 slides show you exactly what is happening in your body during each phase and what you will feel when it's working. Phase 1 of the Activation-Stimulation-Potentiation method is activation. There are 2 ways to introduce a proprioceptive challenge into an activation exercise, and which one is used depends entirely on the movement pattern used. For lower body movements, the challenge comes from the surface. For upper body movements, the challenge comes from the grip. For lower body, a bilateral squat on a half foam roller forces the ankles, knees, hips, and spine to stabilize continuously just to maintain position throughout the movement. The surface creates unpredictable proprioceptive demand. The nervous system cannot rely on a stable base, and every stabilizer in the chain must fire in real time just to hold position. The load is secondary. Maintaining a stable position against an unstable surface is the effort. Research on unstable surface training confirms significantly higher deep stabilizer activation compared to the same movement performed on a stable surface. For upper body, the challenge comes from the grip implement itself. A standard bar has a 1-inch diameter that allows the hand to wrap securely and hold position passively. Fat grips double that diameter to 2.25 inches. At that thickness, the flexor digitorum and brachioradialis have to engage continuously just to prevent the implement from rolling out of the hand. The load shifts significantly on every rep, requiring constant micro-stabilization throughout the entire set. A cannonball grip removes the flat gripping surface entirely. The hand has no edge to anchor against and must actively maintain contact and control from every angle simultaneously throughout the movement. This forces the forearm, wrist, and shoulder stabilizers to fire in a way a standard grip never demands. The result is the same as a foam roller, a significantly elevated demand on the stabilizer system that primes every muscle in the chain before the heavy work begins. This is not a warm up. This is a deliberate recruitment protocol that turns on the system the stabilization and potentiation phases need to perform at their full potential. Resistance in the activation exercise is not the load. The resistance is the demand to control against a surface or grip that is working against you. By the time you move into the stimulation exercise, every stabilizer from the hand to the hip is fully recruited and ready to protect the joint under a challenging load. Phase 2 of the activation-stimulation-potentiation tricep method is stimulation. This is the maximal effort exercise. Your deep stabilizers are now firing from the activation exercise that just preceded it. Your force output is at its peak. Maximum effort is a challenging compound movement using a larger load. High force, low reps, maximum motor unit recruitment. Force transfers more efficiently because the stabilizer system is already firing. Joint protection is higher because the deep stabilizer muscles were recruited before the loaded exercise actually demanded them. Every rep is cleaner than it would have been had we not performed our activation exercise because the nervous system was primed in phase 1 specifically for this moment. You will notice the resistance feels lighter and more controlled than it normally does at this load. That is the sequence working its magic. Phase 1 turned on the stabilizer system. Phase 2 is the actual loaded set. And phase 2 creates the biological condition that makes phase 3 possible. A maximum effort contraction temporarily elevates your nervous system's capacity to produce explosive force. That elevated state does not last long. Phase 3 is designed to capture it at the exact right moment. The sequence is not 3 separate exercises. It is one continuous neurological event. Phase 3 of the activation-stimulation-potentiation tricep method is potentiation. This is the dynamic effort exercise. The maximum effort contraction you just performed has temporarily elevated your nervous system's capacity to produce explosive force. This is post-activation potentiation. Research confirms that a heavy compound movement increases the phosphorylation of the myosin regulatory light chains, the proteins responsible for how quickly and forcefully a muscle fiber contracts. In plain terms, your muscle fibers are more sensitive to the signal to fire right now than they were before the heavy work. That sensitivity has a window. It peaks in the moments immediately following the stimulation exercise. That's exactly when the potentiation exercise arrives. This is the dynamic effort movement. Explosive, fast, maximum intent on every rep. The load is lower because the goal is velocity, not force. Your job is to move with the highest speed you can produce with perfect form. Jumps feel higher right now than they normally would from a standing start. Throws feel more powerful. Explosive movements feel more athletic. That is not effort. That is the sequence delivering a neurological state your body cannot access any other way. By performing an activation exercise immediately followed by a stimulation exercise, immediately followed by a potentiation exercise, you produce greater force output, greater power development, stronger joints, faster reaction times, and a nervous system being trained to perform at its ceiling every single session. Here's what you're building with this tricep method over the next 6 weeks and why it's important to you. First, stabilizer strength. When your stabilizers fire automatically, you're protected from the inside out. Your joints are no longer grinding against forces they were not designed to absorb. Your prime movers, the large muscles doing most of the work, are producing their full output because the stabilizers underneath them are finally doing their job. This is why members who train here consistently report movements that used to cause discomfort feel controlled and stable now. It's not that the load got lighter, it's that the system supporting the load got stronger. Second, maximum strength. When your strength ceiling raises, everything below it becomes easier. A load that used to be your maximum becomes a moderate effort. Bone mineral density increases only in response to the presence of challenging mechanical loads. This is one of the most important physical adaptations you need for your long-term health, and only the maximal effort method produces it. Third, speed and power. Dynamic effort builds rate of force development, the speed at which force is produced. Rate of force development, the speed at which your body produces force, declines faster than any other physical quality with age. It's the quality that catches you before you fall. The activation builds the foundation. The stimulation builds the capacity. And the potentiation builds the power. This is why we follow a concurrent periodized program here at the Strength Laboratory. Strength is your insurance policy for independence. I want to take a minute and zoom out and show you how everything fits together. What you just learned today, this method variation, is one piece of a much bigger system. Every method variation you learn is one piece of a complete concurrent periodized approach. We train strength, power, and endurance within the same week, and nothing gets left behind. And we quantify everything with velocity-based training so you're never guessing. And every 6 weeks, we rotate the stimulus so your body never stops adapting. That's the system. Strength and muscle mass are the two biggest predictors of longevity. That's what we build here. That's what keeps you independent. This cycle, I need you to come in 3 to 4 times a week, drink plenty of water, follow your nutrition program, do your best, talk to me if anything comes up, and if you know someone who needs this, bring them in. New cycle, fresh start, no better time to begin. Let's do this.